Alrighty, we are going to be checking out these Storm Spellements. And as I said before in the ice one, I don't know why they make us relearn this one. Yeah, it's very strange. And I did already have this upgraded to tier 2, so it doesn't matter how many you had, they undo it. However, I had lightning bats upgraded to tier 2, and it automatically went to there. It's a good thing because I don't really want to check out the damage only one, but I find that very interesting. The storm spells that are updated for spring 2022 update are Thundersnake, Lightning Bats, Catalan, which is a Lore Master drop spell, or you can also get this dropped from Genevieve, the Master List, the key boss. Storm Shark, Kraken, Stormzilla, Triton, and Queen Calypso. My Storm Wizard doesn't have it, but my Ice Wizard does. Oh. Thundersnake. Thundersnake, as it is, when you first learn it, does 105 to 145 damage, and it costs 1 pip. If you take the upper tier, it just does damage, getting a total of 35 increase on the lower end, and only 15 increase on the higher end, so not that great. On the lower tier, which I would definitely choose this one, for sure, because if nothing else, the damage goes up a lot. It's good because, you know, they're making you have 1 more pip, so there you go. Tier 2 does 175 to 215 damage, and then gives you a 10% blade for Storm. Tier 3 goes up by 5 on both ends of the damage, doing 180 to 220 damage, and then it gives you a 5% increase to a 15% Stormblade. And Tier 4, still costing 2 pips and 70% accuracy, goes up by 10 on either end of the damage to 190 to 230 damage, and still gives you the 15% Stormblade though. And then the max tier, Tier 5, still 2 pips, still 70% accuracy, goes up by 5 on either end for the damage, doing 195 to 235 damage, and then giving you a 20% Stormblade. Wonder if you can boost that with like a sharpened blade. Let's check it out. Next up is Lightning Bats. Now, my previous version, it did damage and then gave you accuracy, percentage of accuracy. This one now removes a damage over time. Haha, I know what these symbols now mean. So I don't even have to upgrade it to tier 2. So the initial learned spell does 245 to 285 damage. And then if you pick the upper path, you get more damage each time. And the max tier Lightning Bats for the 2-pip version actually increases 5% accuracy. So that's nice. For the lower tier, all costing 3 pips once you start upgrading those. Tier 2 gives you 245 damage to 285 damage, which is the exact same as the one that you learned. And it also removes the damage over time. Tier 3 goes up by 5 damage on either end, 250 to 290 damage, and removes the damage over time. And all the accuracy stays the same on all of these, and they all cost 3 pips. Tier 4 goes up by 10 on either end, 260 to 300 damage, and removing a damage over time. And then the max tier goes up by another 10 on either end, 270 to 310 damage, and removing 1 damage over time. I haven't got any spellements for any of the Lore Master spells yet from any battles or bosses or anything like that. Catalan does 700 damage and gives a negative 25% accuracy. Tier 2 goes up by 10 for 710 damage. Tier 3 goes up by 10 for 720 damage. Tier 4 goes up by 10 for 730 damage. And Tier 5 goes up by another 10 for 740 damage, all costing 5 pips. All at 65% accuracy, and all of them giving the negative 25% accuracy. I'm not 100% sure where we're going to get these dropped yet. We shall see. Well, I gotta say they really messed up with Storm. We do not get any spellements to test out anything for Storm Shark or for Stormzilla. I mean, what happened, y'all? Alright, Queen Calypso being another lore possible drop spell. I have no idea where you can get spellements to even test this out in Test Realm, so I will just tell you what it says. Okay, so currently in game, it gives plus 20% guessing a blade to the next damage spell, and then doing 445 to 505 damage. And that's what it says on the spell writing tiers. What are the changes? Still costs 4 pips going down the road. It is 65% accuracy going down the path. And let's see, the blade that it gives is still the same, 20% all the way down. It looks like just the damage increases. So it goes up on tier 2, 10 on each end, to 455 to 515 damage, and then another 10, 465 to 525 damage, and another 10, 475 to 535 damage, and then another 10, 485 to 545 damage. Pretty straightforward. So Storm Shark currently does 375 to 435 damage, cost 3 pips, is 70% accuracy. The upper tier is just more and more and more damage. Oh, by the way, the upper tier actually gives you more accuracy as you go along. So tier 2 is 70% accuracy, tier 3 is 75% accuracy, tier 4 is 75% accuracy, and tier 5 is 80% accuracy, which is like mind-blowing for Storm. It's amazing. And then the lower tier. All right, let's see if I can translate this thing. Lower tier, tier 2, 245 to 285 damage. So for the same amount of pips, it took a hit, but gives a 10% Stormblade and a 10% healing blade, whatever that thing's called. And then tier 3 goes up by 10% on the damage side, either end 255 to 295 damage, and then gives a 15% blade for storm and still the 10% blade for healing. Tier 4 goes up by only 5 on either end of the damage, 260 to 300 damage. It stays the same on the Stormblade, still 15%, but the healing blade went up by 5% to 15, so now they're both at 15%. And then the final tier goes up by 10 damage on either end, 270 to 310 damage, and then the blades both went up by 5% and now give you 20% Stormblade and 20% healing blade. So I don't know, sort of like a guiding light sort of blade. We'll have to test it out. Yes, we will. But we won't test it out in this one because we don't have any spellements for this. Yippee skippy. Next up is Kraken. This one, you can purchase the spellements from DCS to test it out. So the initial learned Kraken does 520 to 580 damage and is 70% accuracy. Tier 2 on the upper path is still 70% accuracy and does a little bit more damage. Tier 3 is actually 75% accuracy and does more damage. Tier 4 is still 75% accuracy, doing even more damage. And Tier 5 does 5% more accuracy at 80% and does a lot more damage. Although if you think about it, from 580 to 605, it's not really that much of an increase. But if you go to the lower path, from 520 to 580 down to 375 to 435, that's a big hit. Of course, you can always boost them up, no biggie. If I'm reading this correctly, you do the damage, 375 to 435, clearing a damage over time to yourself. It gives a target, gives a minus 10% blade. So all of the tiers on the lower path cost 4 pips, and they're all 70% accuracy. Tier 3 goes up by 10 on either end, doing 385 to 445 damage, and clearing the damage over time on you for a 15% weakness on them. Tier 4 goes up by 15 on either end, 400 to 460 damage, clearing a damage over time on you for a 20% weakness. And then the final tier goes up by 15 again, 415 to 475 damage, clearing the damage over time for 25% weakness on them. That's pretty nice. Now, Stormzilla. It's not possible to get any spellements for this to upgrade it, so I'll just let you know what it is. The initial learned Stormzilla does 650 to 730 damage, 70% accuracy, 5 pips. The upper tier all stay at 5 pips, and tier 2 still 70% accuracy, goes up in damage. Tier 3 increases 5% accuracy and goes up in damage. Tier 4 stays the same on the accuracy and goes up in damage, and tier 5 goes up 5% accuracy and does even more damage. But technically, between the highest tier and the highest there, it's only 30. So, still awesome. Alright, the lower tier. This one's kind of using Storm's specialty against the enemy. For tier 2, it goes down a little bit on the damage. Still stays at 5 pips, all of these. Still stays at 70% accuracy, all of these. So, the damage goes down just a little bit. And it clears a charm on you, on the caster, for an additional 115 damage. This one is a max of 1. Tier 3, the damage goes up just a little bit, and it does the same amount of additional damage for clearing the charms, but this one's a max of 2. Tier 4 does even more damage, clearing the charm, a max of 3 charms cleared for an additional 115 damage each, I'm guessing, because if not, then why would you get rid of 3 charms? Anyhow, the final tier, tier 5, the max tier, does even more damage and has a max of 4 charms. So I'm thinking it might not work with Stormblades unless you stack the Stormblades the exact same one. I'm thinking for the initial hit, it uses your Stormblades and possibly, you balance blades, dragon blades, whatever. But if you used like Spirit Blade or an Elemental Blade and you had some extra ones that you weren't using, this one would increase the damage by clearing one of those. I'm guessing it only clears 1, because that would be horrible if it cleared like all of them. We'll have to see. We can't test it out. So there you go, Stormzilla. And last up is Triton. Triton costs 6 pips and its 70% accuracy does 795 to 875 damage. Tier 2 on the upper tier, which is just damage, still 70% accuracy and the damage goes up. Tier 3, the accuracy goes up a little bit and so does the damage. Tier 4, the accuracy stays the same and the damage goes up. Tier 5, accuracy goes up and damage goes up. Woohoo! For the lower tier, this is where you get the boosties. A lot of these really have to do with damage over time. Interesting. But like I said, these are good for playing off of each other. All of the lower tier cost 6 pips. All of the lower tier are 70% accuracy. For tier 2, the damage goes down just a teeny tiny bit, but it basically does lightning bats. Look at that. 285 additional damage if you have a damage over time. Yeah, sweet. On tier 3, the damage goes up by 25 and gives 10 more additional damage if you have a damage over time. Tier 4, the damage goes up by another 25, and then the additional damage goes up by 10, again, if you have a damage over time. And then Tier 5 does an additional 25 damage initially, and if you have a damage over time, it does an additional 10 damage for 315 max. So let my brain work some math here. So Triton, maxed out Triton's gonna do 1155 damage if you have a damage over time. So beware if your opponent is gonna use a Triton. You don't know which tier they've got, because this one, I don't know who would pick that top tier over this tier, because people use damage over time all the time, just everywhere. Let's test these spells out. Honestly, it's not that easy to find enemies that'll use DOTs on you these days. All right, with a 300 on there, that goes to 1140. And then, if you have a damage over time, that'll be 315 additional. And then Kraken becomes 715 to 775. Of course, this is all maxed out. And then the Glorious Thundersnake for 2 pips becomes 495 to 535 with a blade. So, you know, I think I'll use that one on me. Maybe they'll actually hit. I want them to use a DOT. Sounds different. Definitely has more sparkles during the battle too. And I didn't mention it, but there's the 20% blade. Ooh, look at that, 180 fire damage. All right, there's my DOT. I can try out one finally. The Gulchers are your buddies when it comes to testing stuff out with DOTs. Unfortunately, these are probably going to kill them, so let me do lightning bats. I shouldn't have used it on the one with the trap though. Alrighty, there's those lightning bats. Okay, destroy that DOT. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's see if we can sharpen this Thunder Snake. Yes, we can. And now it gives a 30% blade. I've got this and not a lot of health. Oh, I should probably kill this one instead. I'm not doing good on showing things today. It's not storm spells, I keep dying. Oh yes. Yes indeed. Yes, that's exactly what I want, thank you. And going first really helps. So, Kraken, we're gonna clear the DOT after doing the damage, and hopefully I won't kill them. I mean, it's not boosted, but I've got 2 blades. I always forget that when I'm testing these out. Stop boosting it up so I don't kill them. I mean, it is my prerogative to one-shot, but we're trying to show off these spells. Oops. Bye-bye, DOT. Alright. Do your thing. Please don't crit. Oh, yes. Okay, and no more DOT, and there's the weakness. Finally! Got to show that off. Alrighty, well, thanks for checking out this video on the new paths and abilities of the storm spells, and right now there's not a lot I can show you, unfortunately. There's a lot of stuff broken for Storm, so as soon as they decide to put up the spellements to test out Storm Shark or Stormzilla, then I will showcase those as well. And also, if I find out where any of these Lore Master ones are dropping from, I will also let you know. So thanks for checking out, and we'll see you in the next one.